Run, party, repeat. Welcome to the East Coast Adventures Dirt and Vert podcast, where we talk all things running, racing, and training to help you get ready for your next big adventure.
Learn from our successes and our failures, and have fun at the same time. Join us right here every week with inspiring guests who share their captivating tales from the trails. And remember, nobody cares.
Run faster. All right, welcome back to the East Coast Adventures Dirt and Vert podcast. I'm David.
And I'm Matt.
And I'm Mike.
And we have our very first in-person guest today, coach and ultrarunner Mary Cates. I'm sure some of you have heard and seen some of her stories across Facebook and Instagram and some of her races. But Mary, if you don't care, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into running.
My name's Mary Cates. Also, I coach all of these guys. So full disclosure, we probably ought to get that out of the way before we go much further. This is actually like a group therapy session, I think. So I have been running, over 30 years, I guess. I started running in middle school. I'll be 44 this year. So I started running while I was a basketball player, and just ran all through middle school, all through high school, and then ran in college, and went to college on a scholarship for track and cross country. And then I graduated from college and moved to Knoxville and started running on the Runner's Market racing team. There's a local racing series in Knoxville. We were actually just talking about that. Mm-hmm. And there's several teams. It's kind of competitive. I think there's some different teams now, but at the time it was pretty competitive, which was fun for me to kind of stay in like a competitive racing series, even though I wasn't racing in college anymore. Did that. And while I was working as a television producer, and then I sort of got the bug to start running ultra marathons. And so that's kind of how I started into ultra distance. So, yeah.
So what position did you play in basketball?
Well, I was a guard for most of my career until high school. And then I played post position because I was fairly tall for my age. And then everyone else started passing me. So then I kind of transitioned back to guard. So.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
In middle school, I felt tall.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you still have basketball game at this point?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love basketball.
I haven't saw this game.
Well, we can take care of that if you'd like. I've seen your game. Don't worry.
Yeah. We have to put the one-on-one to test.
Birthday party. I saw plenty of your games.
No. So that was... Let's go back to the fireman game. That's a little better.
Yeah, we're gonna go outside and settle a little bit.
Play one-on-one.
My money is on Mary.
Hey, just because she's an inch taller doesn't mean I can't score on her.
Very aggressive.
That's good.
Okay.
So did you run in middle school and high school?
Yes, I did. I started in the 7th grade in middle school. And then I just started running track and cross country in high school. We didn't have cross country in middle school, so I added that when I was in high school. And by my junior year, my basketball coach basically told me that it was time to stick with running. So I guess I could have taken that a lot of different ways, but it was great because it paid off because I got a scholarship out of it. So, but yeah, I ran all the way through. So,
and you did cross country and track?
Yes.
And then, so you got a scholarship to go run for who?
So I ran at ETSU for one semester, and then in track, and then transitioned that second semester to Milligan, which is a little private liberal arts school up in Upper East Tennessee, where I'm from. It's now Milligan University. It used to be Milligan College when I went there, and I transferred there because I felt like it was a better school, a better opportunity, and they gave me a lot more money to come there. It was actually their very first year with a track and cross country team, so that was fun to kind of be in the very beginning. They're now several years in a row national championship in NAIA division, which is really fun to see them succeed because we were very young, obviously, when I started. So.
Was the coach a new coach or was it a veteran coach?
It was his first year coaching too, so it was fun. Now he's, like I said, he's got several national titles under his belt. His name's Chris Lane. He's done really well. With
So
that
he's
program.
still there?
Yeah, he is.
That's cool. Wow,
Yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm. So.
Man, that's probably unheard of for coaches to be around that long anymore.
Most of them last like what?
He built that program from the ground up, and he's done really well with it. So.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Did he have a background in track himself, or was it just one of those ones like, hey, we need somebody to take this job type deal?
Oh, no. He was a very accomplished track athlete. So yeah, but he took it and built it. I think we all were learning together those first few years. But it was fun.
So I just got to ask, with you having like coaches through middle school and coaches through high school and then a coach through college, was there any influence in that with the way that you coach now?
So my high school track coach, her name is Leslie Bradley. She's awesome. She's still at my high school. She's now the volleyball coach now, but she probably was the best influence on me because she just really believed in me a lot. I probably never had the belief in myself that I should have then, but she definitely helped me with self-confidence, because that was the thing that I really struggled with. I think I don't know, some people may know this about me, but I was a very chubby, overweight child. And so as I got older, I grew out of that, but it was it's still kind of in my brain. It's just, I didn't have a lot of confidence as an athlete, although I had athletic abilities. I just never really saw myself that way. And she was really helpful in kind of helping me become the athlete that I actually became. So yeah, she's awesome. And I still credit her all the time on Facebook. I'll tag her, thanking her for making me a coach that I am now, because I mean, she kind of taught me how to love on people. So I think that helps me. So.
That's awesome. See, I'll just learn something new today.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
So tell us about the college experience and how was your team then with it being a brand new team and brand new coach, and obviously, I mean, I guess at this point you're all brand new collegiate runners. How did the first year or two go?
It was great. We were not good. But but it was really good. We had a lot of international students. We had quite a few runners from Nigeria. And that was really cool for me to be around people from other parts of the world. I mean, my college was very diverse. It was in my hometown, but I lived on campus from the time I started college, and I am so grateful for that experience. But just having teammates from all over the world was really cool. So that's the thing I actually really took away from it more than anything. I mean, running was great, but having the experience of living, like my whole floor in my dorm was all athletes. And so that was really cool. I mean, running was cool, but just my college experience was really cool, just to be around different athletes from the whole, like, you know, all the basketball players, we were all on the same floor, and it was just fun. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, we weren't great, so I don't have any amazing running college stories for you.
What distances did you run?
I ran the 400 and the 800.
How fast were you at the 400?
You know, I don't even really remember. I think I ran like a 106, so 66 second 400, and then my 800, I think I was like a 205. So, I mean, that's nothing spectacular, but you know, I have friends who their kids in high school right now who are running like, you know, 154 800s.
Well,
So
my fastest,
a little different now, but I was definitely not like.
fastest 400 I ran was a 53.32.
Oh, nice.
And that was at Chattanooga Christian during regionals.
Yeah, good for you, man.
What happened?
Hey, that was good. All I had to do is I ran the 100, the 400, and the 4x4. And then I did the long jump because evidently, me being 5'6", the long jump is definitely in my future. It was. They just threw me out there for my field event.
Yeah, you should have done it.
Yeah, I got to ask you, Matt. So you said you were a post. Was that in elementary school?
No. I was average height. I was with everybody, and then everybody just kept growing.
Yeah.
I felt like normal until we get to high school, and then everybody's like, "Hey, you stopped growing." What happened?
It's all right. I was one of the shortest people till like my sophomore or junior year. I was opposite Matt.
I've been the shortest since like
Split web. Top story here.
So how was the senior year? Did you all improve and make some,
Sure. I mean, we went from being like at the bottom of our conference to like third to last in the conference. So, yeah, of course it was NAI. That's what they're still in. So yeah, we were definitely a small conference, but we ran against people like, I don't know if you know, like King College.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but it was fun. We definitely improved, but we weren't amazing by any stretch.
Did your times improve?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think we've talked about this before. My memory is so bad from what we'll probably talk about at some point coming up. But I have a really hard time remembering a lot of things from my past. So, yeah.
So did you have a love for running, or was it just something that you felt like was going to get you through college?
I did love running. Yes, I really did. I didn't love it for the same reasons I love it now at all, but I definitely loved it. It was something I was good at, which, like I said, it kind of was shocking to me that I was good at it because I had never thought I was really athletic, but I was really good at running. So I definitely enjoyed that part of it. I think when you get older in the sport, you kind of start to realize why, but I didn't know any of that at the time. I just was good at it, so I enjoyed it.
So what happened then after college? So did you like at some point just decide that you were going to jump into ultras, or was it just a progression of, small races, marathons, and then at some point you just wanted to try something different?
So when I started, I actually did my first marathon my senior year in college. And that was the Grandfather Mountain Marathon. It was straight up Grandfather Mountain. It's a cool race. It ends at the Highland Games.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's very steep, kind of a crazy race. And that was just several people on my team in college. We decided to run it, so we did that. But that was kind of for fun. But then when I moved to Knoxville and started graduate school and started working, that's when I joined the Runner's Market team. And essentially we had requirements, like you have to race so many races. And so that includes like a lot of 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. I don't even remember what year the Knoxville Marathon started, but that wasn't like a required race. But when they made that a requirement, I think I did the half a few times. I ended up doing the full several times, but I don't think I was on Runner's Market at that time. But yeah, we just had required races. And so that's what I did. I just started doing all the things I had to. And, the point system works. If you win your age group, you place in your age group, you start stacking up points. And that was our goal, was just to try to get as many points for our team as we could. So yeah, it was fun.
I don't feel like I ever knew any of this point stuff existed. We just like I run the Knoxville Marathon the very first year that it come out. Mm-hmm. And all I did was just I don't even know if they had the internet then. I really don't have a clue because it's been 15 or 20 years, ago. And I was, my training plan was 0 as normal. And I had a pair of camping shorts. I wore those, and I had a pair of tennis shoes. And so, but once again, I'm oblivious to everything. And I feel kind of weird because, we've all run for quite a while, but I had no idea that there's Runner's Market, there's point systems. I mean, we just didn't have that around here in small towns. And that may be a lot of listeners that, have stuff like that, but we just didn't have, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah. It was fun. That's where I met Ethan Coffey, and a lot of the competitive folks in Knoxville. We all kind of raced against each other. And then he I think he may have said this on your all's podcast, but he decided to break off from the teams and start his own team. It was called Troopers after his dog. And they had like a few people on his own team, but he just kind of bucked the system and he was like, I'm going to make my own team.
Yeah, I think Bob Adams talks about how he was the instigator of Ethan starting that team.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's cool. I mean, and now there's multiple teams around. So Zen Evo.
Yeah, and that was that was the Hill Shop team, and they existed then. But now he's got like two teams. So he's got Zen Evo, and then just the Hill Shop still has a team. So it's kind of funny. But
hey, we're on that list now.
Yeah, you guys are. Yeah, we are. Yeah.
2005. That's when the Knoxville Marathon started.
Wow. So what was your fastest marathon time?
My fastest marathon time is 2:48. I ran that at the Marine Corps Marathon. I can't tell you what year it was again.
We don't need the year. What about your first marathon? Do you remember roughly what your time was on it?
That was the Grandfather Mountain Marathon, and I think it was like maybe like a 3:50. It was under 4 hours, but it
has a lot of elevation.
Straight up Grandfather Mountain, yeah. And so it was kind of just like a lactic acid bath. It was fun because we were all just kind of suffering together. And then I just remember finishing at the Highland Games, and I don't know if you know much about Highland Games, but it's like Scottish Games, and they're all wearing like
kilts,
and they have a lot of like turkey legs everywhere. And I just remember feeling super sick and smelling these turkey legs.
You ain't got one, didn't you?
No, I did not. But anyway, it was quite an experience. So.
Oh yeah, my cousin gets extremely excited, Andy, about the Highland Games. He dresses up in a kilt. Yes. He goes and watches all of it. And there's actually a guy that I work with at Arconic that competes, and he has the local record for the Maryville Scottish Highland Games.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, you used to do that.
I want to think for the pole toss.
I was going to say the log toss.
Yeah, the log toss. And he looks like Vin Diesel. He'll get mad if he's listening to this, but he looks like Vin Diesel anyways, head shaved and everything. But when we were talking about it one day, he's like, yeah, I've got the local record for that. I was like, that is so cool. So, I mean, it's kind of cool to see that. And the fact that y'all finished at that place, that's kind of cool.
It was fun.
So you did some half marathons, did some marathons. Tell us, just kind of go through a little bit, from there, how did you transition into the longer distances? And then I know that you've also ran some really short races too, like was it the 2 mile?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's the race that Ron Wireman and I raced against each other in. Yeah. I've done, so I've done some short stuff too, but I don't remember the first year that I ran the stump jump, but I can't remember. It was it was way before I actually got into ultra running because I DNF'd. I just showed up, had no clue what I was getting into. We were just talking about ultra sign up. There was no ultra sign up at the time.
Yeah, I was already peeking to see if it was on here.
No. I went in Asics Cayano road shoes, and Mike, I know you've done some running on the Cumberland Trail, so you know that on Signal Mountain, so running in road shoes there is not the best thing either. I was sliding everywhere, and I just had no concept of what I had signed up for. Didn't understand that it was like a mountain race. Had no idea. And I just kind of I fall all the time now, but I fell, knocked the wind out of me, saw some dude go by me in what at the time looked like hiking boots. I know now that they were trail shoes, but I just didn't understand. So I just sat there, I had fallen, and I was just like, yeah, I think I'm going to drop. So I quit. And it was so fun though. And I had no regrets. I was like, yeah, this was fun. Whatever. And then I didn't try anything else again. My first ultramarathon was my real ultramarathon was in 2011, and I ran the North Country Trail 50 miler in Michigan. So, yeah.
Wow, and that's a pretty good time too for your very first 50 miler, 11 hours.
Yeah, I was sick. So I am a 2-time cancer survivor, and this was right around the year that my cancer had come back, and I was very sick. I had not started treatment yet, and I just was like, why not? I want to do this race. So I signed up and did it. Had no clue what I was getting into either. I actually was winning at the marathon, and then wow, things took a turn. So I don't remember what place I came in, but the day definitely changed, and I still had a good day, but it was not a win. That's for sure. I had to learn a lot of things, but I had no idea either. Like I really had never trained for anything like that. And so it was just a really good learning experience. So.
And you said that was the second time that your cancer had come back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you weren't in treatment for this race?
No, I hadn't started treatment yet, but I knew I was getting ready to, and so I wanted to do this race before I started treatment.
So when you went through it the very first time, did you continue to run and train?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was running for Runner's Market at the time still. There's a race in Knoxville called Buddy's Race Against Cancer. And I think I still currently have like all the records for cancer survivor wins at that race because I ran it so many times in a row. But yeah, we even had a team. Our Runner's Market team raised money for me, or in honor of me, several years for the Buddies Race Against Cancer. But yeah, so I raced even during treatment the first time, continued to work. I worked all the way through that. I was a television producer at WBIR. I worked all through treatment and raced and trained during that. Yeah. So.
And what kind of cancer was it?
I had brain cancer, had glioblastoma, which is a very aggressive form of brain cancer. Yeah. So, and then I went into remission, and it came back in 2011. So,
and you continued to run that entire time.
Yeah, I was an arrogant little thing.
And so, were you doing chemo and radiation?
I was doing chemo at the time. Yeah.
Okay, and I don't even know how you managed to run that. And you were racing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's impressive.
I don't know.
That's a little crazy. That's impressive.
Very smart. Yeah. Looking back, it probably wasn't very smart, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I mean the fact that you did that and you continued to go through treatment and then fought it, and somehow, I mean, that's a very low chance of living from that one, correct? Like,
yeah. The stats, I just saw the stats, like, I think it was last week, the current stats, and this has actually gone up from what it was when I was first diagnosed, but the 5-year survival rate is only 7%. And, that's so extremely low, but 50% of people diagnosed will die within a year of diagnosis. So that's half of every person that's diagnosed will not live after 1 year. So, I mean, I'm very lucky. It's extremely aggressive, and it's a very, gosh, I don't even know the word to describe this disease. It is dignity stealing is the way I would describe it. I lost many friends while I was in treatment the second time, got very close with people, and watching the way that disease robs you of your dignity it's very heartbreaking. You lose the ability to care for yourself. You can't speak. You can no longer walk. You lose your mind. Like you literally kind of go crazy. And so, I'm just very grateful and very lucky. So, yeah.
Well, we're all grateful.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I mean, you do coach all three of us, so.
I know you have to be sweet to me.
Should change that workout for tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
But and I know that I probably know more of the story than most. But I mean, my question would be like, when they told you, how did you not just like, somehow you managed to continue to run and you continued to find a way to keep your sanity? Did you do that right off the bat, or was there just like this unsettling just feeling that everything's gone? Or did you be like, no, I've got this, we're going to figure it out, and I'm going to keep doing what I need to do?
So the first time I got sick was very different than the second time. I was really young. So, that's the thing that's pretty shocking about my diagnosis to begin with. I was extremely young in the first place, but I was 25 when I was first diagnosed. I think I thought I was invincible. So I don't think I felt much of what you're saying. I think when they diagnosed me the first time, I knew it was serious. But I think I was just like, oh, I'm fine. I've got this. And I'm pretty tenacious. Like, I don't know. I come from, both my parents were captains in the Army. Like, there's no excuse, right? You just suck it up and do it. And I kind of live that way now, but that's sort of how I treated it. And I went to work. I never wanted to put anyone out. Like, I didn't want people to have to cover for me. I just did it. And yeah, it sucked. There were days that were horrible. I had treatment in the morning and I'd go to work and I'd run at night on my treadmill. And yeah, it was just, but it's just what I knew. The second time when it came back, we caught it late. It was a very different situation. They gave me some options and basically told me there's not much we can do. You might want to start getting your affairs in order. And I freaked out. So I kind of, reacted in a very panicked way. I quit my job because I was like, well, I'm going to die, so I'm going to go do something else. And
well, rightfully so.
Yeah. At the same time, my sweet mom, she is extremely stubborn, but she was like doctor shopping for me all across the country, trying to find hospitals with clinical trials that she could. My mom is a retired nurse practitioner, but as I said a minute ago, she was a captain in the Army Nurse Corps in Vietnam. So she's a really tough old gal, and she just was not going to let me just go off and die somewhere. So she started looking up all the hospitals I could go to receive treatment. I basically started throwing myself at these places. I applied at several different hospitals, including Northwestern in Chicago, and Duke. I'd already been to Duke as a kid because part of my story is that I've had brain tumors off and on since I was 9 years old, several of them, and I've had auditory brain tumors and optic nerve brain tumors, and you name it, I've had it. And they had treated me when I was a kid for those tumors. And so luckily they have an amazing brain tumor hospital. So if anyone is listening who knows someone who is struggling with brain cancer, I would highly recommend going to Duke, because they have a facility called the Robert Tisch Brain Tumor Center. And they took me, and, so that clinical trial saved my life. But I think I kind of got a little sidetracked, but running, I still ran even when I was at Duke. I just ran like a mile a day instead of like 10 miles a day.
I don't even know how you managed to do that. So that's
where I stayed in a little extended stay hotel. It's the Candlewood Suites on Highway 54 in Durham. And it was near this place. If you are familiar with any of like the North Carolina Triangle, so Chapel Hill, Durham, Cary, it's this little trail is called the American Tobacco Trail. There's a marathon on it. It's a rail trail. It's a gravel trail. It's awesome. And I just would go out with my dog and run like a mile and come back. And it's just how I
was think, that Riley?
Yeah, my little Yorkie. It's the only thing that made me feel like I wasn't sick. it just reminded me that I was not this cancer patient. So I needed
Probably helped you
something.
keep a little bit of your sanity, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was just normalcy. That's really
Mhm.
what I needed.
so one last question about that, like all of that. So that was a clinical trial.
Mm-hmm.
Was there like a large class or a, a large, or I shouldn't say class, but was there, a
Mm-hmm.
large amount of people that went in there? Or was there only like a select few?
I don't remember the total number of us, but I'm the only person in the exact trial that I was a part of, because there were several tiers of it and several stages of it. There have been, like, 60 Minutes has done several stories on part of this trial. I was not a part of the one they did a story on, but there were different stages of this trial, and I'm the only person that survived from that clinical trial. I spoke earlier about losing people. There were lots of people in the hotel that I stayed at who were also patients. And sadly, the two folks that I actually became close with have both passed away. Lost them while I was in treatment. And so that was hard to kind of see that happen around you. And like I said, watching all of that kind of dehumanizing way to die. It was almost like watching what you think your future's going to be. Like, I didn't know I was going to survive. I had no idea I was going to survive. And I just kind of thought I'm just waiting for that to be me. So,
How long did that entire trial last?
I literally didn't really go back to a normal life until 2013. I was still doing versions of, like, taking some medications in 2014. So it was, and it's hard for me to even think about it. Like, my life, I was back and forth to Duke, like I said, for 2 years, 2.5 years. It was a really hard time. So,
Do you remember when I don't know how you would word this and everything, get to the point like, nope, I'm winning this. You're not taking me. Was there a moment like that? Like, this is all mine. I'm not going out like this.
absolutely not. In fact, to this day, I still have a hard time saying I'm in remission. Some people know this, not a lot of people know, but I have health complications to this day from all of the treatment. I was too scared. I don't even like saying that I'm in remission from glioblastoma, because it can come back, and and it can spread, and it's so aggressive that it can, kill me tomorrow. Like, it could happen so quickly that I don't even like to say that I'm in remission from it. So no, to answer your question, there was never a moment where I was like, I've got this. Yeah. In fact, it has prevented me from, like, planning future. That's the thing I've struggled with, because I've lived in such a state of not knowing, what the next 6 months was going to look like. That's a hard thing. That's been a hard thing for me still. So,
yeah. Well,
Wow.
at what point did you finally start getting to the normalcy of, like, wanting to run like actual races again? Because I know you're stubborn enough that at some point when you were probably getting less and less treatment, you probably started, like, racing again.
yeah. Gosh, who knows? I don't know. I just remember I still deal with it a little bit, but I had a lot of neuropathy in my feet, which feels like pins and needles. It's a side effect from chemo, really bad. And it would be pretty painful when I wasn't running. And so I remember I started increasing my mileage, because it definitely hurt less when I was running. So that's kind of what I was using it for, was to try to, like, make my feet hurt a lot less. I was also CrossFitting a lot at the time, and that was fun. But that was, like, I started running a little bit during, CrossFit workouts too. And I realized, I can do this again. So, my first race back after treatment, and I was still kind of in and out of, like, going for, visits very frequently, and still taking a couple different medications that I had to take as part of the trial. And I raced the Blue Ridge Mountain Marathon in Roanoke, and they call it the world's toughest road marathon. So it's about 7,000 feet of gain. So yeah, it's brutal, and I loved it. I was fourth, so that was fun, and that helped me realize, like, oh, when I came in fourth, I was like, maybe I still got this, So it was fun, but yeah, that was my first race back.
Well, and I'm sitting here eyeing another race that you did in 2013 too. That you were first place female, and that would be the Pistol Ultra 50K in 2013. So you obviously did a couple races that year.
Yeah, I did. I remember that, and that was so fun. That was the very first year the Pistol existed. So, and that was like a big, I think the term they call for these kind of races is just a fat ass, where everybody brings their own, it's like a potluck dinner and you just kind of run on your own. But yeah, that was very different course than what they run now. But yeah, that was super fun. I forgot about that. So
yeah, I've heard many stories about this first fat ass run. So
yeah, it was fun.
Apparently, like, they took up money. They didn't even charge people. They just took up money. I remember, I think it was Melinda telling me that they ended up with like $20.
Yeah. I don't remember what our medals were. I don't remember. Yeah, it was fun. The course went across Maryville College campus, actually, which it doesn't do that at all now, but we had to cross Lamar Alexander, which was not safe at all. So
if they could add a bridge there, that would be great.
Yeah, they should. They should do something. But
not a step bridge, like a arch bridge.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So it looks like right after that, though, your next big race that at least is on Ultra sign up. So you might have snuck another race back in.
If I did, don't worry, I don't remember. So.
But it looks like you did the Pistol Ultra the next year, but you signed up for the 100-miler. So is this is this Mary Kate's first 100-mile race?
Yes, absolutely. And boy, talk about learning the hard way. That race was, I will say this, it was an amazing experience because I had so many really great friends and athletes. I was already coaching. I started coaching in 2013. And so many of my athletes and just good friends came out and paced some of it with me. And it was a really fun experience. But boy, I ran the first 80 miles without walking at all.
Oh, wow.
Because I just didn't understand anything about this. And then I spent the next 20 doing a slow death out there.
Doing the slog.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know if you can call it a slog. And this was when the Pistol was around New Year's. And so I think it was like, I don't know, like
so
10
cold.
degrees.
Oh. Yeah. I never ran it during those years. That's too cold for David. That was before me and Mike ran in the winter.
No, we used to quit.
we would stop in November and start back in March.
We'll see you back in March, man. Real.
Looking at that race, I should have quit.
So let me ask you this, Coach, today versus looking at what you did, do you ever just look back and think, what the hell was I doing?
But that's kind of why I think I'm
like, how many races did she run back to back? Because that's the speech we all get. What do you think?
Like, that's why I tell you these things, guys. Because like
she's lived it.
I know
the results.
Listen, I totally know. And I try to save folks from the mistakes that I made so that you don't have to do it. But yeah, that race was rough. And as a coach now, I think all the time, God, what was I doing? But I definitely thought that I could just run that whole thing without ever walking a step. And I was wrong.
Well, we're all naive like that, because I thought the same thing about Vol State. So here we are, humbled.
I never thought that one.
Think that about Boston.
I didn't think that one.
Didn't know what he was talking about for a year.
So what do you think was the hardest thing about your first 100-miler? Was it the mental piece, or was it the nutrition, the food, and the just the hurt?
It was definitely that my legs just felt like someone had hit them with a car. Like, I just didn't understand what was happening. I mean, I ran like 9-minute pace for like 80 miles. And then all of a sudden, just I stopped functioning. Like my legs just could not go. Yeah, it was wild. And I just remember thinking, this is the worst idea I've ever had. But I knew I was going to
I've had those
finish.
thoughts.
You know, I knew I was going to finish. So,
Well, and I mean, you still finished like you were fifth female.
out of probably 5.
Those numbers don't matter.
we won't tell anybody. And then your next race we move into is the Lookout Mountain 50.
Yeah, loved that race. My favorite, still probably my favorite ultra ever. So.
And what's impressive about that is, like, if you look at your first 50 miler, you were 11 hours. And I don't know much about the North Country Run. I don't hardly know anything, but I can't imagine it's much harder than Lookout Mountain.
It's very flat. It's in Michigan. So.
And you ran that one in 9 hours, 53 minutes. So huge improvement just over the few years that you have been running, the longer distances.
Yeah, it was a fun race. I think it's a great race for people to go, especially if you're going to do your first 50. The course is gorgeous. I just had a really fun time out there. One of my athletes now, who is just a phenomenal athlete, Amanda Hardcastle, she's just a badass and a veteran. She's about to retire out of the Army here in a few months, actually. But she paced me, and she said to me, I have no idea why you would ever do this, but yes, I'll pace you, and I will never do this. This is the craziest thing ever. And then just this past December, she won it. So I think it was this December, maybe it was last year. I don't know, but she went back and she actually won the race. So it's kind of awesome. I love to give her a hard time about that. So,
so you influenced her.
Yeah. She's a really phenomenal ultra runner now, but at the time she was like, "This is so stupid." I mean,
I've said that during the race plenty of times.
Yeah.
But with you knowing that course and also coaching her, that was huge in her favor to help, to prepare her for that.
Yeah, and she had run so much of it already. She kind of knew exactly what it was going to be like. But yeah, it was really fun.
So she locked those 4 miles straight up.
Oh yeah. That's actually my favorite part.
Yeah, mine too.
The John Smart Trail. That's fun. Yeah. Not yours?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't expecting that.
Matt still has nightmares.
I was like, man, we only got a few miles left. I'm killing it. And then we get to that section.
Then it turns.
And then you do like 5,000 switchbacks climbing that thing. Yeah.
It's beautiful though.
When I go back, I will go back. I will be much more
it was
prepared.
a great race. That was beautiful back in there.
It was
beautiful. You guys didn't see the prettiest part though, because you did the 18-miler. There's a section called Lula Lake, and it's on a land trust property. And man, it is a huge waterfall. It is gorgeous. And so when you go back, you can do the 50.
Nah, I think I'll stick with 18.
I think you should do the 50.
Matt, come on.
I'll stick with 18.
If I'm having to have a conversation with you, asking you to do more. This is kind of unheard of.
We'll see.
He must have hurt his feelings, that race.
It was cold though.
It was cold, and I wasn't expecting it. And then I went off course. I walked right over the flags.
So sad.
And then I had to hurry and try to get back.
I feel like you need a tissue right now.
I'm going to go back and get my redemption on that 18-miler. Then we'll see.
Brittany's the one that needs to go back and get redemption.
Yeah, that thing's Brittany's name.
She says she's done with that race.
So, Mary, let's talk about this next race. Looks like you did a stage race, Chattanooga Mountain stage race.
Yeah, and that race was hard for me. I think I was still, what year is that in?
That was 2015.
Yeah, so I think I was coming out of some of the last medications that I was still taking, and I was struggling a little bit in that race, but it was gorgeous. I signed up because I loved Lookout 50 so much, and the Lookout Mountain Day. It's 3 days. At the time, it's different now, but at the time it was Raccoon Mountain, Lookout Mountain, and Signal Mountain. And the Lookout Mountain Day was a big portion of the 50-miler course. And then the Signal Mountain Day was a big portion of the stump jump course. And so I just wanted to do those because they were some of my favorite places to run in Chattanooga. And so, yeah, I loved it. It was hard. If you've never done a stage race, that's an interesting thing. For me, it was kind of a brand new thing. You know, you're just running every day on really tired legs. You just got to get up. And we had some crazy weather. Some of those days it was storming, so thunderstorms, which I just wasn't super used to running on a mountain in the middle of a summer electrical storm. But, yeah, it was fun though.
Yeah, it looks like pretty good distances too. The first day was 18 miles. The second day was 22. Third day was 20 miles. And what's interesting is you finished very close in the same position each day, like 11th, 10th, 11th. So you were 10th overall for all 3 days. So pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Total time of 10 hours, 59 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, this next race I've heard a little bit about. And I'm pretty sure this is a Lazarus Lake race.
Yeah,
race for the ages. So this is a very unique concept. Tell us about this.
So you basically run your hours in your age. So at the time, I don't know how old I was. I guess I was 33, maybe
35.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. So I was supposed to run for 35 hours. And the cool thing about this race, it wasn't super interesting for younger people, but it was a way for older folks to get their last 100-miler. So if you were 85, you got 85 hours to run. And so it brought back a lot of people who had been legends in the ultra distance world. And so that was really fun for me to run around some folks who, had been doing it for years and got out there and, were trying to get 100 miles in. So that was really fun. I got there late in the race, obviously, because I only ran for 35 hours. And it was a 1-mile loop.
Oh, awesome. Yes.
City Park in Manchester, Tennessee on Labor Day weekend. And it was 1,000,000,000,000,000 degrees. And this was a sidewalk. So you basically ran around these baseball fields and soccer fields, and we got to watch kids playing their games. And I just remember, I thought it was going to be fun, and it was fun until it was not fun anymore. It would come these big thunderstorms overnight. I don't know. I feel like I was out there for a week. I was out there for 35 hours. I just feel like I lived a life during that, and I really didn't.
35 hours is a pretty long time.
Yeah. I don't think I ran. Actually, I don't think I ran the full 35. I think I ran 100, and then I stopped. So when I hit 100 miles, I stopped because I was like, I can't do this anymore. But it was really cool to just be around those people. I got to make some good friendships. It's the first time I met Karen Jackson. So I don't know if you guys met her at Ball State.
Yep.
She's awesome. And so I really talked to her a lot during that race. That was really fun. So yeah, but actually Laz ran that race that year. So he was out on course with all of us, which was fun. Very different experience when you're racing against Laz.
Did he run with the Marlboro? I'm just curious.
No, he walked, but he did not have cigarettes.
What about his dog? White shirt.
He wore his white shirt, and he had khaki shorts on, and but yeah, that's what he did. And he talked to everybody. He talked a little smack to everybody during the race, so it was pretty fun.
That doesn't sound like him.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it looks like you got your 100 miles.
I did, yeah. And then I was just ready to go. So
know that feeling. Then you did Bad Beard Events. Sounds like a name that Matt would name something. Rabid Raccoon.
They do got a good logo.
25K.
Yeah, Rabid Raccoon's a super fast race. That's a fun race in Chattanooga on Raccoon Mountain. And it's on a portion of the mountain that's on a downhill mountain bike course. So it's straight up, straight down. It's really fast, really technical. And that was a lot of fun. So I I think I took a little break because during that time I kind of went through. Maybe I didn't take a break. I don't know, but I was really burnt out. I think after the stage race, and that I kind of wasn't sure if I wanted to do some more races, and then I ran the race for the ages, and I don't know. I was starting to get burnt out, so that race was kind of good for me because it was really fun. It was short, and so I recommend that to folks. If you're starting to feel like really burnt out, do a short race. Like do something that's completely different and fun to kind of get back to it, because it really helps me kind of get back in the swing of things. I was kind of over it for a while, so yeah, I
It's
love
not
that
a
race.
marathon.
Right.
Well, that's short compared to 100.
Yeah,
You get it over
it's
with the same amount of time.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's only 3 hours.
I want to hear it, Matt.
I think David's still rattled about this marathon.
Probably the most nervous I've ever been about for a race.
And grumpy.
Was I grumpy? Was I? That could have been because I was not drinking, which I'm taking care of that now. Fix that issue.
Grumpy.
I'm telling you, I was nervous about that.
Yeah.
We got another one coming up in April. You want to do it?
No, sir. Yeti
What?
50's next.
Oh. Figured this would be.
I have a
Good
very
one.
strict program that I have to follow.
It's not
Matt.
too strict. You get to run trails. We don't.
Why?
That's because David's not running a marathon,
You
Mike.
can call it Yeti Trail if you want to, but it's flat. It's flat.
Till you go up.
Yeah, it's not that flat.
Remember,
That's like
remember-
the Knoxville Marathon going
My-
down.
Knoxville's got plenty of elevation.
Well, Mike,
Flat. It's not road.
I will say this.
I don't get to run
The
trails.
results from Mike's Yeti were very close to Chattanooga Yeti. I got to see them both. Yeah. Sorry. But
That was pre-Mary.
I just remember his dad calling and being like, Mike is way ahead of pace. You're going to have to meet us at like, because I had worked and I was trying to get to Mike to pace him. And his dad called and he's like, he's right on time. 2 hours later, I get a text. He's absolutely flying. He's way ahead of pace. And I'm like, great. I get in the car and I'm on my way. And then James messaged me and then he ends up calling me. He's like, he's so far ahead of pace. You're going to have to meet us here. And I'm like, okay. So I'm going I think to Damascus,
Yeah.
which is like, I don't know.
It's 50.
It's not 50, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's before everything just starts going back up.
Well, I'm on my way. And then as soon as I get to Damascus, I'm about to lose signal, but a text comes through and says, it's not good. He's not moving. He's on the ground and I can't get him up. I think you need to come back here. And I'm like, okay. So he sends me the stuff and I get there and Mike is just, obviously we're still new to this. We're learning, just like you were at Pistol, but Mike blasted down the hill of Yeti way too fast. So on the way back up, he just died. And when I got there, he was like behind on electrolytes, behind on nutrition. He was as wide as my t-shirt that I'm wearing. Like he was just laying on the ground and I'm like, are you okay? He's like, oh. And, but we got him up, got him back to life and he finished. It was not the time you wanted, but you still had a respectable time.
For a respectable to me, and not, it was 26 hours.
Yeah. And you were going for
I was going
24, right?
I was going for 24. I was too nervous to shot call it, because I was scared that I wouldn't get a buckle. Because on Jason's thing, it's like, if you call it and you don't get it, you don't get it. Which I would run that risk now. That would be the challenge that I would run now. When you get more into it. But yeah, we learned a lot. We learned a ton. But that's the fun of it. You get there and you're going up and you're in the van with 10 other strangers, and they're like, "Don't go down this hill fast." And you're like, "Oh, I'm absolutely going down this hill fast."
So yeah. Either way, we've all learned a lot.
Yeah.
I've learned I don't like marathons. So let's move on. Looks like you did your second 100 miler now. We're getting into Pond to Palm. Who is the race director of that race? Okay, that's his race. I thought so.
It's amazing.
So you ran this race, which is a trail race compared to Pistol 100, with the exact same time. So obviously things are starting to click and come together because you put together your first trail 100-miler in the same time, 26 hours.
I was fourth in that race, which had no business being fourth in that race because it's at altitude. It's you run up the Cascade Mountains, like it's out west in Oregon. So
cool.
And it was the most gorgeous race it's on the Pacific Crest Trail. And I'd never seen skies this clear. I mean, I felt like we were up so high that I could touch the stars at night. There's a aid station at mile 62 called Dutchman's Peak. And I mean, I literally, like, there's no light pollution. Like, I felt like you're just in the sky. It's just the most gorgeous race ever. And we started, I mean, I went up way above 10,000 feet. And I just seemed to get better as the day went on. And I raced. This is kind of the way I race, always. If you know much about how I race, this is my strategy. But I started in 10th place. And I just started slowly throughout the day, just picking people off. And at a certain point, I realized I was fifth and don't know how that happened. And then kind of caught someone, passed her, and ended up finishing in fourth. And I mean, like I said, I had no business doing that. But I handled the altitude really well. I didn't have any altitude sickness at all. And I attribute that to training in humidity. That race was in September, and the humidity in the South is a really good training tool for altitude. It affects your breathing, and it actually, you have some of the physical changes in your body that happen at altitude. The same stuff happens in humidity. I call it hillbilly blood doping because you kind of get some of the same benefits from running through humidity as you do at altitude. But I just had to keep drinking and eating, and I don't have a problem with that usually in races, except for Yeti this past year. But that is what I attribute doing well to, just humidity training and just continuing to eat and drink.
That's interesting. I've always heard that about training in humidity in the South is the only thing that really helps you with elevation.
100%. Yeah, it was crazy. I would catch these folks and they just couldn't breathe. And I thought, why am I not having any issues? And it just, I just really didn't. At one point I had a headache a little, but that was it. I think I was at my 80. Who doesn't? Everything else is hurting, but my legs felt great. It was just a great experience. So I love that race so much.
Well, and I was going to say, one of the things that I noticed just looking through your results is, 2013, 2014, 2015, you had some pretty good races, but I can tell just by looking at your results, something clicked or changed in 2016 moving forward for you, because you go from 20th or 10th or 15th to Bad Beard events, the 25K, you're third. Pine to Palm 100, you're fourth. Quest for the Crest 50K, you're fifth. Black Mountain, you're first. Grindstone, you're sixth. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but just showing that your progression is improving as far as what your endurance running is going. And is that just something that you feel like takes time, like you've learned, or is it just your training changed?
No, I definitely think I just started figuring it out. I started putting it together. And now I run a lot of different races, like the faster hundreds. And I actually, I enjoyed that over the last several years. But at the time, I was running big mountain 100 milers. Pine to Palm I had never done anything like that. The climbing in that race was wild. It was just an insane race. It's gorgeous. I would recommend going to it. Hal Kerner puts on an amazing event. They've had some issues over the last few years, several years actually, because they have wildfires now. It seems like almost every other year, and they have to cancel the race a lot. So when it takes place, it is a gorgeous race that I would recommend. But yeah, so I love big mountain stuff. I'm a really good climber, and I think that was something that helped me in a lot of those races that I was signing up for. That, you know, the more mountain races, I'm a very, very good climber. And so I just learned how to do that really well, and never have had a problem with eating or drinking. And so I think that's also just got better. So
Fortunate there. I can't say. I mean, I've watched Matt slap himself so many times that it makes me hurt.
It happens. It's called the slap and go.
It just, I don't know. I don't know how that works. Like,
it makes you quit thinking about throwing up.
It's something to see. If you ever see Matt slapping himself on the race, just keep going. I mean,
well, I will tell you, the first time I ever experienced this was at Three Sisters. That was the year of my avocado test, where I ate nothing but avocados for those 6 hours.
That was my first.
And I was crewing you and mine.
24-hour race.
And I just remember I was sitting there with Brittany, and Matt is throwing up everywhere. He's on his knees. He's on, and Mike had, I think, thrown up as well, because someone come to help Mike, and I was like, no, he's good. He's just praying. Leave him alone. And then
just eating avocados. So like,
we used to take them to every single race, Mary. We would cut up and cherry tart juice. We had to take cherry tart juice and avocado.
That's right. That's what I lived on. But then I remember Matt comes in, and it's in the middle of the night, and he wanted mashed potatoes, and I put chicken broth in there. And you would just think that I just gave him raw fish or something. Like, he come back and said that he only threw up the chicken broth, but his stomach kept in the potatoes.
It's a true story.
And I'm like, and me and Brittany just look at each other and we start laughing. We're like, Matt. He's like, I'm serious. Well, then, you know, at this point,
That's exactly what happened. Telling an accurate story so far.
Hey, I don't lie. So then I'm sitting there and I'm talking to Brittany, and I hear this awful, like, it sounds like someone got punched in the face. And I just stop and I look, and Matt's standing, like, sitting there with his mouth wide open, and like he's just like all tensed up and looking down. And I look at Brittany and I'm like, what just happened? She said, oh, he smacks himself when he starts throwing up. And I'm like, seriously?
I remember your face just staring at me.
And I just started looking at him, and then he smacks himself again. And I look at Brittany and I said, that's the craziest shit I've ever seen. And now we're just used to it. Like, it's Matt. I like
it. Works.
I've never seen it. Thank God.
It works.
It is so loud. Like, it's not an easy smack.
No,
like, if I was myself, it would be like, oh, you know, no, not Matt.
Like, if you hit in the right spot, you're probably gonna knock yourself out. It quits.
Oh,
I quit throwing up.
Hey, you do coach him, so.
Is it easier for you now to to know Mary? You know, I can call her up and say, like, hey, I've got this little spot on my arm, and she can self-diagnose it in just a millisecond and so forth. Are you, you know, and you're like, what? But she's right, you know, and that's to know Mary as your coach. Is it easier? Is it easy for you to do that to yourself during a race, per se? Has it gotten easier? Because we run and we can have all this knowledge, but we get out there and we're like, what the crap is wrong? And you go back and you look and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't take these pills, or I didn't need that. But can you do that? Do you feel like you can?
Yeah, I feel like that's my strength as an ultra runner. I think it was my strength as in 100 milers as well, because I just think I'm a really good problem solver. I think that comes from back when I was working in television as a TV producer. Like, you can be on the air and a breaking news happen and you throw the whole plan out the window, like live on the air, and you just have to start figuring out what you're going to do. And that's how I run races. Like, if my foot hurts, I'll change my foot strike just a little bit to see like, oh, does that help like if my IT band hurts, I'll land a little bit differently and I just adjust as I'm running to see, if that changes my IT band, or if my glutes aren't firing, I'll, try to see if I can engage my hamstrings when I'm running, when I'm climbing or something. But yeah, I just kind of do that all the time now. And I do think it's what has helped me be pretty consistent. And I mean, I don't really call myself super successful as a racer, but I think I've been consistent. And so
What do you mean? You definitely are. I'm sitting here looking at your results.
that's sweet. But I think it's helped me be consistent over the years, is just being able to figure out on the fly when something's going wrong, like why it's going wrong, and try to stop it. So
I definitely, as a coach, it's much appreciated, because I'm sure you can't see. We're fortunate we get to see you weekly, whether it's here or running or something like that. But you have so many clients that you just, to be able to diagnose what they're telling you.
Yeah.
And you're so pinpoint accurate. It's unreal.
Oh, well, you're very sweet. I mean, I coach a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of, like, especially when it comes to like little things. I call them niggles, like little, it's not an injury. It's just like a little niggle. It's a little thing. And, usually people were not usually hurt. It's something else. So I have a lot of sayings, and my other saying is, where it hurts, it ain't. So if it's your knee, it's actually probably your hip, so let's work on mobilizing your hip and see if we can loosen that up down to your knee. And, a lot of times we're really not hurt. There's just something else going on. And so I've just had a lot of practice with that with people. So yeah, there's a lot of things I wouldn't say I can do for myself, but that is something I'm able to do for myself. So yeah.
That's just come with a lot of experience, I would imagine, of trying to diagnose.
Yeah.
It's definitely helped me in races. I'll say that.
David gives me a problem during the race. I'm like, well, you need more peanut butter, dude. That's what you're
Mike ruined peanut butter for me. I won't eat that shit with nobody's spoon at this point.
What about that chicken noodle soup you made? Try to make you.
That was awful too. That was Mike Taylor's epic fail of the day. I mean, when I'm in a race and you tell me to do something, I'm going to do it. So, Mike, we're at Mid-State. It's 99 degrees out here, and he hands me a can of chicken noodle soup and just pops the top and says, "Here, drink that." I drank the whole can, made 4 steps, and puked all over the finish line, and then went and ran my next lap. But it was the grossest thing ever. I'm pretty sure someone took pictures of that, but it was.
I remember that vividly.
And I remember coming back, and I don't remember if it was Mike or Matt, but one of them said, "You drank the whole can?" I said, "You handed it to me. You said drink that." No one said, "David, drink 2 sips. Here, drink that."
Is that also when you're going through your avocado thing too?
I still love avocados. Oh, gosh. All right, so let's get back to Mary. So let's talk about this next race. I mean, you did the Quest for Crest 50K and Black Mountain Moonshine 8-miler. So you did well in both of those races, but I'm really interested in this next race, the Grindstone 100. So now we're getting into a super technical 100-mile race. And I mean, your time is very good, 27 hours. You were 6th place overall.
A toughie. I actually broke my ankle
while you were running?
Yeah, at mile 62, I broke my ankle. I thought I rolled it, but later found out that I had broken it. So I was moving quite a bit faster early in the day. And yeah, so then I picked up my pacer, which I've only had 2 pacers in my life, but she was amazing. Her name's Bridget Smith, and she is a nurse practitioner. At the time, she worked at the UT hospital in the ER. And
well, that's nice to have when you break your ankle.
She's amazing. She's a really badass ultra runner as well. But she, we had a deal like late in that race that my ankle was pretty bad, but I just kept thinking, well, I've just rolled it. I just kept saying that. And she, at one point, she made me take my shoe off and make sure I had a pulse in my foot, because she was afraid looking at it that it was broken. And she was like, if you have a pulse in your foot, I'm cool with you finishing this race. And I said, okay. So I said, let's do that. So she checked it and I did. And so I went on and finished it. And yeah, it was a pretty respectable time for that race. I think that race has like a 48-hour cutoff or something crazy. It's super hard. It starts at 6 p.m. at night. So you spend the whole first 12 hours in the dark. And it is hard, hard, hard. And the fog, I've actually written about the fog before. The fog, you can't even describe it. You can't see anything in front of your face, nothing. So, I mean, I had a waist lamp because a headlamp is like putting your high beams on in fog. Like you just can't see anything. So I had 2 different headlamps and I would flip them on and off, like when the fog would lighten up a little bit. The whole goal was for me to finish that race before the sun went down again. That's a lot of people's goal. A lot of people, that is not possible. And I was finishing as the sun was going down. So,
even with a broke ankle.
Yeah. Oh my God. And when I crossed the finish line, this is just so like ultra running, but I crossed the finish line and I walked up. There was a medical person around and I was like, Bridget said, should we have them look at your ankle? And I said, I don't know, I guess. So we walk over and this guy was like looking at it and he just looked at it. He goes, I mean, I don't know. What do you want me to do about it? And I was like, fair point. I guess I'm just going to go home. So I went home and had an x-ray and I had what's called an avulsion fracture. And that's basically when the bone doesn't break, your bones just pull apart. So the two bones that were side by side basically just separated. So instead of one bone breaking, 2 bones pulled apart. So yeah, it was broken. It was made it a lot more understandable as to what that was pretty miserable. But
did you run or did you have to walk?
No, I ran. I mean, we ran. It was just like what took me so long is at aid stations I was slathering on Voltaren and like CBD pain cream.
Voltaren, I use that.
Yeah, I had a concoction that I would just take my sock off and like reapply it just to try not to feel it. But yeah,
that's also where you take 4 ibuprofen and 2 caffeine pills and call it game on.
I was pretty scared to take ibuprofen at the time. So
one of our earlier concoctions.
I didn't take any of that. So yeah, it was just slathering on Voltaren and CBD.
It's the same thing as ibuprofen.
I know. Yeah, it's a whole other.
So now let's talk about the Stone Anvil 100K. You were second place female and second completely overall 16 hours. That looks like a really great result. Let's hear about that one.
So hard. It's called, the DT stands for double top. So if anybody's ever heard of double top race, that's actually what it is. It's in North Georgia. Their little spur goes out onto the Pinhoti. It is so hard. And actually, here's the crazy thing about this race. This is a little like scoop about this. I was actually it takes a lot for me to get irritated. I was really irritated about this race only because I was winning all day. I thought I won this race. At the end of the race, I thought I won. I was the first person to cross the finish line overall, but he allowed what's called a late start. And so you could start like 3 or 4 hours. I think it was like 4 hours. The race started at 5 a.m. and this person did a late start race. And what that traditionally means is that's fine. You could start late, but we're going by gun time, right? So people who start late really aren't concerned about their time. They're just, whatever.
Yeah.
So I had no idea I was racing anyone. Well, that's not the way the race director does it. He does it by the individual start time. So she actually ran like 10 minutes faster than me, but I never knew she existed. So I didn't know I was racing anyone. Later, like 2 days later, he called me and said, by the way, she won. It was a woman. So it was 2 of us, but he said, her time was faster than yours. And I think that's hard. It was really hard for me because I think had I known I was racing someone, you know, it
You would have probably ran harder.
Yeah. So it was very hard. And I said, I've never heard of anyone doing anything like this. Usually a late start means you're going by the actual gun time. And so he changed that going forward because he apologized and he said, I can understand why that's confusing. We won't do that anymore. But at the time, it took my first place. I thought I won. So it was I was a little upset about that. Because you don't race the same way when you don't know you're racing. So
right. Well, if you think you're winning, why hurry?
Well, I mean, I was trying to hurry, but I also didn't have the pressure of someone
chasing you.
Me. You just race differently. You know what I mean? So
when you got done, somebody could have told her your time. Said, hey, she did it, and this time. Yeah, all you could do is be 1 minute faster.
That's a great point, man. It gives the late start an unfair advantage.
Yep, because they know how fast they actually have to run.
Also, the big thing that I kind of struggled with, and this is, who cares? It doesn't matter. But I would have liked to have slept in 4 more hours.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have wanted to start at 9 as opposed to 5. But you didn't start in the dark. She ran longer in the dark at night. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But it was something that was. Well, confusing to me.
I was going to say that does matter. That's different. I've not ever heard of that, so that's interesting.
Yeah, because most people, like you said, when they start late, they're just out to run.
Right. Yeah.
Their stats, they could be faster, but it's not really. They didn't start when everybody else started.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So.
And anyway. we did skip over this race just barely because it's under a different area, but Vermont 100.
Yes.
So you also ran that one. You were not placed 23 hours.
That race was 106 degrees. That was the hottest
in Vermont.
So yes, Whoa. That was. They actually canceled the New York City Ironman that year. It was the same weekend. They canceled it because of the heat. Well, we don't cancel ultras for.
No, we don't.
So
not for weather.
It was 106 degrees. I have never been so hot in my life, but that race was amazing. It was one of the most beautiful courses, and it was the Vermont 100. You run on the course with horses too, so there was a 100-mile horse race going on simultaneously, which is a really unique experience. So it was hot, but it was really fun. So.
And then this one race, the Yeti Ultra 24-Hour Challenge, that's the one that's just virtual online for everybody, right?
Yeah.
I get confused with this race every time because I'm like, oh, you won this. And they're like, everybody won. I'm like, yeah, I got it. Never mind. So what about I've never heard of this race, the Delirium Ultra 24-Hour Run. Looks like you did 12 hours.
I did. I actually had to leave in the middle of that race. My mom got really sick, and I got a call that she had pneumonia and was being put in the hospital. And it was on Thanksgiving weekend. And so I decided to just leave. So, which was fine. That's a great race. If you ever want to take a trip to South Carolina and run around Savannah, those folks put on really great races.
Oh, Savannah's pretty.
Yeah, It's Tim Waz. He puts on the Delirium's a great timed event. So if you want to take a Thanksgiving vacation and go run a really, really, really fun race, it's like a big party. So go run that.
That sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we're going to get in to the Yeti trilogy here. This is like a Star Wars movie. So 2021, your very first Yeti 100, you absolutely just killed this race, 17 hours, 48 minutes. I'm sure that's your fastest 100 miler at this point, right?
Point, yeah.
Yep, at this point. And you get second female overall and your sixth overall completely. So great race. Tell us a little bit about that, and what was that your goal, was to run that time, or was you shooting for something slower or faster?
I didn't have a time goal. I was really excited about that time. It was really a decent time. I wanted to win that race as a female. I had no idea who Amy Hamilton was, and and then as I passed all the other women throughout the day and realized that the first person I saw coming back at me was this really short, beautiful, athletic, amazing lady flying by herself. I was like, yeah, second place is pretty good. I think second. But if you know me, I love Amy, and I was so pumped that she was winning. So it was really rad to know that, a chick was going to win the whole race. So I was really excited about that. But yeah, the race was so fun. We had perfect weather that year. Just had a really good time. So I don't know. I mean, it felt like a dream day. Didn't have any problems. So it was really fun. So.
I mean, that's absolutely an amazing time. Next race is going to be the Yeti 100, I guess, in 2022.
Yeah. That's the year that I got to experience Yeti cane.
Yeah, so you didn't finish this race, correct?
No, I was hit in the head with a tree during a hurricane. I think it was around, I want to say mile 70, 75, somewhere in there. I was winning, so that's a big bummer. I was having a really good day. Was in a really good headspace. A hurricane blew in during the day, so we had a ton of crazy weather, so much so that Jason actually changed the course during the race because normally the race on the way back up, we run all the way back up to White Top, which is the highest point in the race where we start, and he closed that, so we turned around at a place called Green Cove instead of going to White Top because the winds were like 55 miles an hour at the top. It was just not safe. It was crazy. And then the rain was coming down sideways, and I actually had to switch. I put rain pants on to run this race because, I mean, it was terrible, and I was freezing, and but I was really happy, and that's what's kind of funny. I was going in and out of aid stations just super chipper, and I was just having a great day. And then all of a sudden I woke up with a friend. I was very lucky. The guy who found me is from my hometown. His name's Brad Reed. He's awesome. He's a nurse at the VA there, and he found me, and I just kind of remember waking up and seeing a headlamp in my face, and he said my name, and we deduced by a giant tree that was split open laying beside me, and my headlamp had flown off, that tree had hit me. And my head hurt, but I wasn't really sure what was going on. But yeah, it hit me and broke. And so really lucky. Another guy was coming up the mountain, and Brad was going down same direction I was going, and he was starting to get like hypothermic, so I told him to go on. And this other guy, Rightly Reed was his name, Rightly Reed, he actually offered to walk me back up to Taylor's Valley, which was the nearest aid station. And I said, "You don't have to do that." And he said, "I'm dropping." So he walked me back up, and then so I got there, and they would not let me go. They cut my wristband and called Jason, and so I went to the hospital. But yeah, I was fine, but had to have all the CT scans and all the things.
Did you end up having a concussion?
Yes, I had a grade 4 concussion, I think. It was rough. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
So it wasn't just a little limb that hit you.
No. It took me weeks to be okay. I think some of my athletes probably could attest to the fact that, like, I was not okay. Like, during calls and stuff, I was like, I don't know, I was not okay. But yeah, I was very lucky.
And I was going to say, that was the first time that me, Mike, and Matt actually met you was right after this race at Firewater.
Yeah.
And you were telling us the story at an aid station. So.
Yeah. Pretty freaky. It's just not something that typically happens. And I will say that Jason Green was awesome to me about it. I'm sure it probably felt tricky to have folks out running in conditions like that, but I never blamed anybody. I mean, it's all of our personal responsibilities when we do these things, and I chose to keep running in it, and never would I, blame anyone for that. So, but he was great. He called and checked on me, and he was extremely kind about it. And, I think he felt kind of guilty, but he shouldn't have. That was totally on me, and that was a freak accident, you know. In fact, we laugh, I joke with you guys, because at Gone Loco this year, on the trail, I kept, every time I would go run on the Eureka Trail, I saw this tree, and it was just like hanging over, and I kept thinking, guys, I'll just tell you, that looks like a familiar sight to me. And this year, the race, the gun goes off, we take off, and boy, sure enough, that tree was laying across.
Yeah, somebody sends me a message like early on. I'm like, you're kidding.
Yeah, Mary texts us. She's like,
Yeah, in the race, Mary's taking a picture of the tree.
Mike, I'm like, oh no.
I just knew it. I felt it. I knew the tree was coming down.
But Nick was so gracious. He cut a little hole out for you guys.
Yeah.
So your next race is 1776 America, one of our races. You were first. You finished first female, second overall, 2 hours, 19 minutes.
Yeah. Y'all had too much influence on me in that race. I caught this bug of going out too fast. I never did that until I built you up.
Yeah, so everybody remember, the faster you start, the faster you finish.
Yeah.
Nope, just kidding. Don't take that advice, but that's what we always joke about.
Yeah, I got all caught up in the moment. I took off.
Did you get caught up in Emmanuel?
Yeah.
Emmanuel was blind because he is the competition.
If he would have been in the flash suit, it would have been on.
Yeah, you wouldn't have saw him.
No, Emmanuel. No, you did not do that. He'll take credit for that. He tries to.
Oh, he will. He will.
No, but I ran too fast, and it was a hot day, man. That was a hot day, and
yeah, it was.
I just should have saved it. I could have closed on a little bit later. Just couldn't catch him. So. My favorite story, though, and Kyle will laugh at this. I don't even know what mile we were at, but we were kind of like side by side, and he said, "You're doing the 7 miler, right?" And I said, "Oh no, I'm doing the 17 miler," and he goes, "Oh shit!" He didn't know he was racing me, so that was fun. We had a good time.
You all were fun to watch too. Y'all raced really hard,
especially like watching that on the backside, how it was set up. Last lap, you can see everybody. You're like, "Are they at? Where they at? Where they at? Are they coming? Are they coming?"
Yeah, I'm starting to get dizzy on that last. Because normally I think I could have gotten closer to him to close that a little bit. But man, it was so hot. I was starting to get dizzy, and I was like, oh, if you're going to go down.
There's a lake there. You could have jumped in.
And then next race, we come full circle to the Yeti trilogy. So 2023, you come back. Obviously, 2022 did not go the way you planned or expected, and understandable. We can't always control the weather and the things that happen. But I was fortunate enough to get to watch you run this race, and you just ran an amazing race. You come back and you got your victory. You were first place female and second overall. So tell us a little bit about this day and what your goal was.
Well, I had planned the year before to retire from 100 milers. That was my goal, was to not run any more 100 milers after that Yeti in 2022. And then that, pissed me off because I was going to have to go do it again. Because one of the things I told myself that whole day of Yeti Cane was, you don't ever have to do this again. Just keep going. You're going to win. You don't ever have to, you're going to win your last 100 and you never have to do this again. And then I didn't finish. And so I had to go back and do it again. And so, man, this day, it just felt like a dream. Everything clicked. And I will say, you were a big part of that. So, I mean, you were just a great crew person. It was awesome. You were perfect and helped me so much. But I don't think I've had a better race. Nothing hurt. I mean, I really didn't have any pain. It was just a great race. And that the beginning of Yeti, you run like 14-ish miles down the mountain, and everybody kind of rolls into Damascus feeling a little beat up. Like you kind of feel it just because you've gone downhill for a long time and you're hips kind of feel it, your quads kind of feel it.
Not me.
Except Mike. Nothing hurts for Mike until mile 50. Yeah, so, but I just felt great. And I did what I always do. I kind of started, I think I was like maybe 5th or 6th. I don't know. You probably know that more than
Yeah,
I
I
do.
think you started at 6 roughly.
Yeah. And then I just started kind of running my race and just slowly picking people off. And that was fun. And I caught up with, I think finally caught the gal who was winning. I don't know. I think it was around mile 25 or something like that. And talked to her for a second. She was in kind of a hard spot and we chatted and I just kept going and didn't really look back the rest of the day. I mean, later as the day went on, like that's the thing about Yeti. When you hit Abingdon, which is the turnaround, the first turnaround, you get to see everybody behind you on the way back and you can tell who went out way too fast, Mike. You can see it. Like
Well, they didn't tell me. That's the bad thing. That's on them. They didn't tell me I went out. So.
You can see it on everyone's face. Like, you know who's made a big mistake. Like, and I was like, oh, I feel so good. And, you know, that's when it dawned on me that, oh, like I can catch the men, you know. So I just started finding everyone in front of me except the main winner. He was awesome and he was just super kind. And but yeah, just the day felt really, really good. I had a few moments where I kind of was unsure. The second place gal, she got real close to me around mile 50, and this is really funny. I think you drove by me at that aid station, David, and I don't remember exactly what you said, but you said you texted me something or you yelled something at me. I don't really remember, but you were basically like, "You got to move your butt." So she's right there. So I took off, and that's my favorite part of the race is the climb back up the mountain because I just kind of seem to find my stride there and pass people always going back up the mountain. So
Yeah,
I don't walk ever.
I will say coming all the way back up was probably your biggest move.
Yeah.
Because I was setting up at the top of the mountain waiting on you, and you went from 3rd,
Maybe.
well, no, 4th. You were at 4th, I think, at that point, and when you made it to the top of the hill, you were in 2nd.
Yeah.
So you passed a lot of people on the climb up, which you ran a smart race. You paced yourself really well for that climb back up, and you flew down pretty well too. So
Yeah.
on that last lap.
Yeah, that's my advice to anybody who races it. Save yourself so that you can run back up the mountain and then bomb all the way back down. Because, I mean, that's kind of the secret to it is you can get up in one piece and still feel good on that second time. Coming down the mountain, you're basically home free once you get down to the bottom. So, and I flew back down the bottom. Now, at that point, I had never really run that hard. Around mile 85, and I was flying. And that's when my stomach, just because my heart had been pumping so hard that late in the race, my stomach just did not, it did not enjoy all of what was happening. So I wasn't able to take in the same kind of food. So I had to switch to Coke, and I don't even remember what else I was doing. But yeah, so my tummy took some revenge on me during that race.
You managed it well, though. I do remember at one point, we were, Wendy was there at that point, but I just remember you'd come up and you'd come up to me and I'd be like, "Do you want anything? You want this? Because this is the stuff you'd been eating all day." And you're like, "Uh-uh." I'm like, "Do you want this? Uh-uh." "Do you want this? Uh-uh." I'm like, "What do you want?" "Coke."
Yeah. All I could do.
You know what Coke should do? They should just change the package on a bottle and just put ultra hydration.
Yeah.
And they'd make a killing off from it.
Ultra endurance Coke.
Yeah, there we go.
And just double the sugar.
Yeah.
We're good to
That
go.
the caffeine.
Double the caffeine. Maybe throw some ibuprofen in there.
Well, hey, they could just make it how they used to make it back in the day.
That's called
And-
a jolt.
and we will, ultra runners will be flying.
Yeah.
And you ain't going to sleep.
And then I know that you've retired at this point from 100 milers. So you and Ethan retire, but you continue to run. I love it. So you're signed up for your very, very, very first last man standing race, which is a very unique format on this specific race because it's not a normal like backyard ultra, but you were signed up for Mid-State Mile.
You guys have influenced me. So thanks.
We get to race together, Mary.
You know, I used to have a very hard and fast rule that I would never run a race that I had an athlete in.
Really?
Yep.
Ooh, you're going to get to see Matt slap himself in this race.
Hey, I got to say, last year, I only threw up one time.
Perfect.
And that was because I
You
enjoyed...
slapped yourself and it went away.
Well, I did. But I enjoyed too much watermelon. And it messed me up.
Like water.
Mary, I will tell you, he has a good reason for why he throws up in every race.
I'm sure
Yeah,
he does.
that was too much watermelon.
I remember at the Stinger, we're 4 hours in, and he's throwing up all over that artificial turf everywhere.
Oh, yeah. What was that, eggs or cheese? Or
You
something?
said you drank too much.
Yeah, but then I was throwing up cheese. Something came up with it. Yeah,
His stomach is really good at separating food.
It
The cheese.
He ate a burger, but some reason the cheese is all that come up.
No, that was early, so we probably had breakfast, something.
Oh. All right. Well, that is all we have at this point for the races, but we do have some listener questions. So while Matt is trying to find the
you
list.
missed Don Loco on there.
Oh, it's at the bottom. That is right. Let's not skip that. Yeah. So you actually just finished this race in February, which is another one of East Coast Adventures races, and very nostalgic for the two ladies that won it. But Gone Loco, 33 miler, you were second place female and third overall with 4 hours and 33 minutes. You all absolute. So what's really cool about this is that like 4 people broke the course record. That is so amazing. In 1 year that like 4 people run faster than the course record. And you were one of them. But that race went well for you other than the tree that fell.
It didn't hit me.
Just a flashback.
Yeah, exactly.
But tell us a little bit about this day and how cool was it getting to race Amy again?
It was awesome. She's great. So seeing her, giving her a big hug, like seeing her the night before at Packet Pickup, it was so fun. But yeah, she's super fun, and it kind of felt like a little mini Yeti. That trail is kind of similar to Yeti, so the whole experience just kind of felt like we were doing it all over again. That day was awesome. I raced it exactly how I wanted to race it. That is a deceiving course. I think people think it's flat. It is not a flat race. It is
downhill both ways.
It's only got 1,000 over the whole 34 and a half.
I understand. However,
If you're gonna read the description, it says it's flat. Just
I would agree with you, Mary. It is.
It's funny. Anybody you ask will tell you it feels like you're going uphill on the way out, and then on the way back, it feels like you're going uphill, and you're like, what is happening out here? So, but yeah, I trained out there a lot, so I loved that course. It was super fun, and I had a goal of trying to get faster. It's like 3 laps, and my goal was to get faster every time, and I did that. Essentially, my goal was just to be able to really, really push the last lap, and I was able to do that, and felt really good, and knew that Michael, the guy who won, was super pumped for him. He had a great race.
Oh, he did.
He was so kind and just fun, and Amy's so kind and fun. Also, it was super fun for me to have some of my runners out there racing too. Really proud of Micah, which, by the way, Micah's about to go run his first 100-miler this weekend. So shout out.
Yeah, Micah, I'm trying to drag this podcast out to 2 hours for you per your request.
He asked for that so he could listen to it. Right.
Is that what he did?
Yeah.
Oh.
We're at 1 hour 40, Micah.
We'll see how long I can drag these questions out.
But yeah, super fun. It was a great day. You guys put on an amazing race. All your races are so fun. And it was just a really good day. So I'm really happy with it. sure you'd want to go faster, but that time was everything I wanted out of it. So, okay.
Yeah, and one of the other things that continue to happen in our races now is people continue to lock their keys in their cars. So,
Me.
Dusty, Marty,
Zach,
did too?
remember the dirt circuit?
Yeah, dirt circuit. Yeah.
It's becoming a thing, but
A locksmith.
So you guys get your
it's all right.
keys out.
Nick continues to get the pictures of everybody trying
Get them
to.
as a sponsor.
Well, I mean, and that to me, like Gone Loco was really fun to watch because the people that ran the races they wanted to run as far as their times, like Michael and Amy and you and several others, even Brandon ran a great time. But what I loved the most about it was the fact that everybody on the course was kind and having fun and high-fiving, and everybody talked about that as they finished, about even the people that were winning were just out there high-fiving and having fun. And that is truly what it's about. Like, that is genuine, and that is when people are truly at their best, is when they're having fun and they're in their thing and they're doing what they want. And we could see that on all of your all's faces. And that's one of the great things about race directing. We miss it, as you're racing, and we get to see those pictures from Nick and others. But we get to see it on these loop races like on Loco, where it's a lap where you come back at least a couple of times. And that's what's so fun, is we get to see you all in your zone and in your thing, and to see you like high-fiving people and having fun. That's the emotion that you want to see and feel. And kudos to you guys for being like that.
Well, thanks. It was awesome. Everybody's super, super sweet, and having the 11 milers out there, while, it's fun when, you see some folks that's the longest distance they'd ever done.
Yeah.
And that's really fun. So, yeah, it's just, you guys put on a really good event. It's a big party. So good job for you.
Well, thank you. We try. All right, Matt. So don't lose the question, sir. I'll let you get them ready, and I'll kick us off real quick. Mary, the same question we ask everybody the very first time. Why? What is your why? Why do you run?
My why is pretty simple. Faced the time when I thought I couldn't do it. And so it's a gift. Every race for me is a gift. It's like a celebration to just be out there. It's just a gift. So I do it because there's a time when I thought, granted, I have a body that is healthy and strong, and there will be a time when I'm not gonna be able to win races. But that's okay. I'm still gonna do it because it's a blessing to be out there. So yeah, that's my why.
Oh, I love it. I got a feeling you're going to be still winning many races.
We'll see. But if I don't, it's fine. I've done what I wanted to do. So
Yeah, I mean,
time I get to do it again, it's just fun.
That's not why we do it anyways, but that's just a little bonus if it does happen.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to stall here while Matt's trying to get the questions pulled up.
I'm
I'm waiting on some music to play, because last week he pulls up Instagram and we're like in here jamming to AC/DC or something.
Brian Vermillion has not tagged us today.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, remember that. Wednesdays at 5:30, tag us in something with a song, and we'll make sure we play it
Now
for
we're
you.
going to have all kinds of stuff. We actually do. Daniel just tagged us in one, and I haven't watched it yet. So it's
all right, Matt. We'll turn it over to you, sir. We'll put Mary in the hot seat.
We got a few questions here from some of your athletes, and then some random people. I don't know who they are. Just kidding. What is your worst race and why?
I did Quest for the Crest. I DNF'd because I fell. It was a flash flood that year. I won it not won it. I didn't.
2018.
Yeah, I fell and tore my popliteus, which is like that little tendon behind your knee. And yeah, pretty bad. My foot got stuck down. If you've ever run Quest, it is just, the course is crazy, but it is on the it's super technical, and it's just straight up, straight down. There's nothing runnable about it. It's all just hiking. But it was flooded, and there was a giant rock like ravine that my foot got stuck in, and I didn't even know it was there. And then I tried to step and turn, and my knee just went. And I've never really been injured, but that was, I couldn't bend my knee, and you can't function to like in a mountain race if you can't bend your knee. So I got down to an aid station and I had to drop because I couldn't really like, even lift my knee up to go anywhere. So that was probably my worst race. But that was my very first DNF. So, and then I got hit in the head with a tree for another one. So I'll take it.
Which, didn't you almost win an award for that?
Yeah,
Ultra sign up.
Yeah, the random
Wildest
lady.
race fail was what the award, the Ultra Sign Up award was.
Yeah, and the guy didn't even know who you were. He just said, the lady that got hit with a tree at Yeti.
Yeah, pretty epic fail.
I voted for you.
Yeah.
All right, this is pretty good here. What is the stupidest thing that a client had done or said to you, except for Heather Watson, because she's awesome?
I love the question. Mary is not going to answer this one.
Well, they could be like an ex-client. Let's just hypothetically say they're an ex-client.
Or you can say, what is the stupidest thing that us three?
Yeah, so I was like, what have we done?
Now, you can say whatever you need to.
Oh, yeah.
Me.
You lied to show.
You get the gold card here.
Oh man, I will not do any of that. But I will say, I think the thing that is hardest as a coach to navigate is when folks, and this includes some of you guys for sure, I feel like when you over race, it's hard.
Oh man, I didn't know.
Well, it's not just Matt, it's this one too. But
Well, I know who she talking about.
I mean,
I've only raced one time this year.
I'm doing better.
It's only March.
I mean, I think that's really hard as a coach because I care about you guys all so much. You're like my family, and I want you to succeed. I always want you guys to do all the things you want to do, but I also know what is potentially coming on the other side of it that you guys might not see, and that is a year of undoing damage from over racing. You know, that's a hard thing, and I don't want you guys to I'm not just speaking about you guys, but anyone that I coach to go through that because it's hard and it shows up in a lot of different ways. It can be injuries, but it can also be like hormonal damage, and you don't even know, like you can destroy your testosterone and, you know, have all sorts of different ailments that show up that don't have anything to do with like a muscle tear or anything. So, you know, cumulative fatigue is real in endurance sports, and that's probably the hardest thing as a coach that I deal with, is trying to help people safely navigate stacking their whole race season, you know. So, but yeah, guys,
these darn race directors make these races.
Sounds like she's
attractive.
talking about us somehow.
I'm doing better.
You are doing better.
Hey, I've only raced one time. Now the second half may be different, but
This next month is about to stress me out for you, so
Well.
that's okay.
it's only 2 races. What is your proudest moment as a coach?
You knew you were going to get them.
Oh, that's a great question. Proudest moment as a coach. I think so. I coached an athlete that you guys know, Tim Dickerson.
Mhm.
And he will love this and hate this at the same time because he will not want to be talked about on this podcast. And he
Well, Tim's awesome, so
Yeah.
he should enjoy this.
faithfully. But man, we worked really, really hard on a lot of things about 100-mile racing for a while. And he's a Marine. He comes from a background of almost like hating himself through training, right? Like if he can just be so hard on himself, he can gut anything out. Like if he could just self-loathe himself to death, like, you know, he's going to tell himself, you're slow, you're too slow. This is, you know, and it just wasn't working. Like he didn't enjoy it. He'd line up for races. They would not go the way he wanted. And finally we had this big breakthrough this past year. And I said, dude, like you cannot hate your body you can't hate your body to success. You can't hate your way to success. You got to start loving yourself and find the joy in this stuff. And it was like a switch flipped. And he came, I said, we need to have fun. We got to figure out a way for you to enjoy this again. And he came to your All-Start Circuit race and had the time of his life. We took all the expectations off. And he did so good that day. He loved it. You guys were a big part of it. You really helped him enjoy himself. And then he went to Tunnel Hill and he crushed it. And he had an entirely different race experience. And he fell in love with the sport, learned how to do it in a new way. And I mean, he's a totally different athlete now. Every part of this he now embraces. He's so much stronger. He's faster. He's about to go do Cruel Jewel, which is super fun. He goes out and does these long training runs at House Mountain now because it's very technical and lots of elevation. It's near where he lives. And he just gets out there and grinds through it and loves it. And it was just like night and day. And I'm so proud of him because that was years of mindset that we had to untangle and change for him to, that's just the way he had lived his whole life, of just be so hard on yourself. And that only lasts and works for so long. And we had to find the joy in it. And I think for a while he thought, this is so silly, this is so silly. And it finally clicked, and he's a totally different racer now. So yeah, probably Tim.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I remember Tim running at Dirt Circuit. I mean, Tim's ran a couple of our races at this point.
Yeah,
but
he ran the.
he looked like he was having so much fun at Dirt Circuit.
Yeah, he always runs your Bigfoot race too. So.
Yes, yeah, and
See, I never knew him there. I just knew him at the Very Scary.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember Very Scary.
Mm-hmm.
But man, like if you don't enjoy this and you can't find a way to embrace it and be happy, I'm not sure. Like, I just, that's the thing that bothers me the most is like you see these David Goggins videos where you have to just, it's like you hate life and everything's terrible. And that's not really it though. Like the whole point of this community, and especially if you're like, around here, East Coast Adventures and some of these other race directors, I mean, there's a lot of great race directors around here. And we're all very similar. I mean, we have different ways that we race direct, but at the end of the day, we're all having fun, and we're all trying to help you have fun and to find joy in it. And you've got to find that for yourself, or it's not sustainable. And really, if you're not having fun with it, it's not going to be something you want to do long term. And I'm so glad. I love that answer because I'm glad Tim, and I'm glad you helped him find that, because that is such a game changer, even for like training and trying to figure out what you want to do.
All right. Which dog of yours is your most favorite?
Oh.
4 dogs.
I think I know this answer, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Listen.
Lulu is my favorite. It's hard to, you would
Timmy.
think that's hard. Timmy's adorable, but Lulu is my favorite. It's like picking your favorite kid, but she is my favorite. My favorite little girl. She's so sweet. She begs for belly rubs nonstop.
Well, Lulu's the OG, right? I mean, she
was the first one that I got after having my dog Riley that I had for 17 years before I lost him.
Oh.
But awesome, but crazy. So yeah, that was a quick answer. Lulu.
Okay. How much stock do you put into low heart rate training, and can you focus too much on that method?
You sure can. I do think I would just use it. I would call it like a tool in your toolbox. I think it is a metric that you can use to get information about your day, I guess. I think a lot of people have things that influence their heart rate. So some people, if they're taking a medication, their heart rate just runs higher. Some people just naturally have a higher heart rate. So I think it is really difficult to strictly give someone a heart rate range and say, this is where you should stay, because each person is so unique. I don't think that is an effective way to train every single person. Now, I do think there are ways to use it. If you have an average range that is your norm for certain, training runs, like easy runs and harder effort runs, and you wake up one day and you go out for a run and your heart rate is remarkably higher that day. I think those are metrics to let you know that you are either a couple of things. You didn't sleep well, you're maybe getting sick, or you're overtraining. And me as a coach, like I'm looking at that data to kind of give myself some feedback about your training. I do think it, like I said, it's a metric. For some people who use it and love it, that's great. But I just think if you solely focus on that, you're missing a lot of fitness opportunities, because I think some people totally steer away from any kind of speed work if they just stick to low heart rate training. And I think that does a disservice to endurance athletes, because I think we should be adding some form of intensity to our runs. Even if you're a 100-miler, I think putting intensity in your runs is important. And so I think a lot of times we'll skip it because we want to keep our heart rate low, and I don't think that's helpful.
Yeah, I just told Mary the other day, I didn't even know that like your run efficiency on Coros could go above 70. So since she's been like training me for this marathon and Yeti 50, my run, I guess, what is it called? Like your run score or whatever it is. Mine was like been 70 for like the last, I mean, as long as I've had this Coros, and this is the original one that came out. It has never been above like 72, and I'm at like 90 something now. So like I've never.
Which one is it?
It's the run score. Like,
Is it your running fitness?
yeah. So like, see, you're running fitness.
Oh, I'm at 87.
Yeah, I never knew.
Yeah,
I never knew that it would go above like, and I even told her this one time. I was like, my run fitness is always like 70, and I was like, see. And then now, since she's been coaching me, like I'm at 90. I didn't even know that like your watch could go that high.
Yeah, I mean, heart rate like low heart rate training, it is very important.
Look at Mike; he's over here going through his watch. Like, what is this? I just learned about Instagram the other day.
I'm at 78.
Yeah. So I think it's important to say building an aerobic base is really important. So, that's kind of like building the base layer of a cake. So you don't want to just start running a bunch of intensity before you have a base laid. You know what I mean? So that's important. But sometimes that base looks different for each person. Like your heart rate ranges are not the same as David's.
I know, mine's higher.
Right. And so I have athletes that take certain medicines that like their heart rate's never going to be in the low, in what, the methadone is the way this stuff.
I got hooked on that for a while.
Yeah. And, some people, they're never going to be in those ranges. And if you truly follow that would dissuade them from ever doing any intensity at all. And I have an athlete who's extremely fast. She wins pretty much every ultra she signs up for, and her heart rate ranges will never fall into those categories. And if I trained her that way, A, she would be frustrated and probably quit, and B, she would never win because we wouldn't ever train hard. And so I just think you have to know your athletes, and you have to know what's, you can't just use that as your only metric. So.
We had in our medical class as a first responder, we had one instructor, and she would always tell us, treat the patient, not the machine.
Right.
So don't ever depend on your watch or your heart, your chest strap, all that. Don't ever let your body physically tell you, this is me, this is not me. That's how you operate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mike, I just want to let you know, buddy, we're at an hour and 59 minutes.
And we got a couple more questions. All right. How do you balance running ultras, training, work, and family? Sometimes it's hard for this person to do that.
How do I balance it? Oh, God. Not well. Let's say that.
Throw school in there too.
Doctor.
I'm getting my PhD too, so that is extremely difficult. I don't know. It's really hard. I think you have to give yourself grace. I think just like in a race, I would say I have to take every single day one at a time. I think some days I'm taking not even a day at a time. I'm taking it hour by hour. I do athlete calls all day long. And some days, my days are honest to God, half an hour at a time, because I'm just trying to get through call to call and fit training in somewhere in there. I'll get on the treadmill while I'm talking to some of my athletes. You know, I don't know. I definitely skip on sleep, and that's not what I would ever tell any athlete. So that's a thing that I struggle with. Full disclosure, I don't sleep enough, and I think it affects my, you know, my physical recovery as well as, you know, my my brain clarity sometimes. So I don't know if you guys have answers for that. Maybe you can tell me, because I'm not good at that. So my balance is not great.
Oh, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
I know. Yeah.
Well, I will say that she slept like 2 hours the other night, and I told her there's no way I could even function. So
No, at least 5. 5 to 4 is like it's where I'm hanging out at. If I get 6 during the week, it's great. Now on the weekends I somehow get like 8.
Yeah.
But during the week, no. Like, what time is it now? It's about 9 o'clock. I gotta be up at 4.
I think not pitting yourself against everybody else and just assuming that, you know, everybody else has their own struggles and their work, and they've got young ones or they don't have young ones, but they're going to school, like you said, you know, or their jobs requiring them to work longer, you know, and just not getting to the end of the day and be like, man, I really sucked up today.
Yeah.
You know, just like you said, grace, you know,
Mm-hmm.
start it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing I tell most of my athletes, like, you know, people like to say, and I do say this sometimes, but like, we do all have the same 24 hours in a day, but everybody's day looks completely different. And so you just have to figure it out. And if, you know, if that day doesn't work out, just like you said, Mike, the next day you get a chance to do it over. So if you know, have a misstep, like, that's all we can do is we all get to start fresh the very next day. So that's all I'm doing. I mean, I'm doing the same thing you guys are doing, you know, just trying to do the very best I can. So I mess it up a lot.
well, I mean, we all do.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's life. And I mean, the honest truth is you don't see what everybody's going through. You know, me and Stamen were having this talk the other day. Like, you just never know what everybody's going through when they're lining up for a race or a run or even just a normal day. I mean, people don't see what you're going through or the hours that you work or anything, and none of us do. So I mean, you know, you're exactly right. We all have the same 24 hours, but we all have different priorities that we try to focus on. And, you know, everybody's job is their first priority throughout the day, trying to get that done besides your family and your kids. You know, your job is the one thing that you have to do because, you know, you've got to get through that part. And then you kind of put everything else in around that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you throw in the other things that you're taking on, whether it's school or, you know, sick kids, sick dogs, sick, you know, whatever. You're just making the best of it every day. And, you know, you're just trying to survive each day and start over and do it the best you can. And what you don't finish that day, you carry over. But unfortunately, you know, people just don't see that, and they think that, oh, well, this person's got it all together. Well, guess what? None of us do. None of us do. We are just holding on, trying to survive each day.
I think we all look forward to that text in a group or something like that, you know, whatever group you're in, and you're like, okay, they're having trouble too, you know, and it's like, oh,
Well,
thank goodness it's not just me.
Yeah, that's
the other day Brian wrote us and said, "Hey guys, what's going on? It's the quietest it's been." I'm like, "Hey, I'm barely hanging on." And then Mary's like, "I'm here." I'm like, "Yeah, we're just barely hanging on."
Matt, we're gonna have to, like, this is the first podcast I ran completely out of my beverage.
Well, we just got a couple quick questions. These are quick. These are quick hitters.
No. I think it's awesome. And Micah is smiling right now as he's listening. So I'm going to make sure we don't release this till it's close to the 100-miler, so that when he's listening, he's just smiling the whole time. Like, I told Mary, 2 hours.
All right, here we go. What shoes do you wear?
I'm a Saucony girl. I love them. I do run in a few other different pairs. Like, I got the Nike Ultraflies from David for trails. But I love Saucony, everything.
What did you race Yeti 100 in?
That's Saucony Ultra Endorphin Speed. It's a road shoe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love it.
Yep. Your favorite hydration?
So, I actually love just water. in my bottle, but I will use Roctane in the background. I say I use it in the background. Just I kind of have one bottle that's got that in it.
I know this answer. It's orange tangerine flavoring for water.
What's the special orange container? What is this?
I'll never forget. I'm at Yeti, and she has these jugs of water, and she's like, "All right." So the biggest thing, and she's got like 6 bottles of this water flavor, and she literally is like, "Just make sure that you put plenty in there because that's what I need." And she grabs one of those bottles, and she's like, "Shh, shh."
Little, like,
And I mean, like, she puts like 3/4 of that bottle in this one jug.
She is making sure that water is tangerine orange.
Yeah, it's that like
Oh, what I did not
Starbreeze,
know this.
the Crystal Light stuff.
Oh, she loves that stuff. That is like her thing. Like, she may not have a nutrition, but orange tangerine flavored water, that is Mary Kate's.
It's got lots of sugar in it, probably.
No, it's 0 sugar.
Well, it's got that other stuff in it. So,
Drink the Roctane a little.
what is your average mileage per week?
That varies, but right now I'm at about 60 miles a week. When I'm in peak, like 100-mile training, I got up to, this year it was lower. It's about 80 to 100 miles a week. But right now I'm at like, this past week I was at like 60. So I like to stay between 50 and 60. So, yeah.
Do you believe in having a strength plan?
Of course. I don't really like to have an athlete that isn't lifting. So, it's kind of a rule of mine, just because I think strength training is so important. I think it is one of the best ways to prevent injuries. I think a lot of people get hurt because they have a weak side, or, part of my strict training programs for most of my athletes are unilateral stuff, so single leg stuff, just because if you have a hip problem or a knee problem, chances are that's because one of your legs is weaker. And so we go through and get you stronger on each side. And usually those things either don't show up, injuries, or they kind of go away. So, I really believe in it. I think it's really important to have a good, strong back, strong core, and then obviously, your legs. So I fully believe in that. I would strength train every single day if I could, but I don't. So I love it.
And that's all the questions I have.
All right.
Do you guys have any questions for Mary before we close the podcast?
Mary, who's your most difficult one here to coach?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that. You guys are all
different.
You're all different. I would say it is interesting coaching David. We have a very unique dynamic. There was one point, I think, where I said to you, I don't know if I can coach you.
Oh, you said it to me. I might have to drop him.
Yep.
Well, we've navigated it pretty well, but definitely we had a moment where, I don't know, and if that was what was going to have to happen, that was fine. But, it's hard when you have a very specific concern about somebody you really care about a lot. And, but I also want you to do your own thing and, do what you enjoy. But we've navigated it pretty well. But yeah, that was a challenge at first, I think. So what do you think?
Who, me?
Yeah. What's that been like?
Well, I mean, I think it's been good for me because I do have a tendency, like if I had, it's very hard for me not to race. I'll say that. It drives me kind of crazy not to run a race every month, but I know that it's good for me not to. I'm trying really hard to just kind of like keep that from becoming a thing because I know that it's in my best interest. And I will say with the training program that you're running or that I'm running based on what you're giving me, it helps because you do put some really tough workouts in there. And to say that like I've never truly done like a full training block, because I had never, I ran races every month. So there was no training block. It was like, hold on and survive and just recover and then run what I could. And I think the only reason I survived that was just because I strength trained so much. So it's been different. You've definitely made me a fitter runner and a faster runner, because that was one thing I never did was speed. I mean, I never had any ambition at all to run a marathon. So, I mean, I did that this year already, the 3 hours and 14 minutes. It wasn't my goal that I wanted, but I'm still happy with that. And, I never thought about running 6-minute paces for anything. I'm more of like, give me an 8-minute pace and let me run 50 to 100 miles and I'm good to go. So it's gotten me out of my comfort zone and I enjoy that, but I still struggle. And this, like I still struggle with not doing a race all the time because that's like the enjoyment and the excitement for me. But I'm beginning to love the enjoy and the excitement of different training. So I do enjoy that piece.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys are all different. So that's been fun. And it's like one big family. You're like my kids. 40 kids now. So
that's a lot of people. And you say you can't remember stuff.
I can't, but I can remember what you guys do.
Well, I will tell you this, and we can end on this if nobody else has questions, or if y'all want to say something after I do, that's fine. But I will tell you this, I've had coaches in the past, and I've never had a coach or seen a coach because our dialect is much different than when you're on a call with an employee. Me and you don't have a call. I talk to you, on a daily, weekly basis, so I don't need a call. But I see you and I hear you on some of your calls, like in the way that you talk to your runners and the way that you care and you're concerned about your runners and how you guide them and teach them. And even back to the point of what Mike says is like people call and ask you when they have a problem or a niggle or anything else, and you walk them through that and you talk them through that, and you're able to do that, and you do these weekly calls with your runners. And I will say that I've never seen a coach put the effort forth that you do. And I think it's impressive with the amount of people that you have. I know that it's got to be a lot on you and it's super tough, but I will tell you that you go above and beyond for your runners. And I just want to say thank you.
Definitely.
I try a lot. I try to take into consideration your all's lives. I think that is important to me. If you're not happy as people, you're not going to run well. And so that's my job, is to make sure that we're making it all fit together. So, yeah. It's an honor.
I don't always feel like, sometimes I feel like on our call, we can go 10 minutes and we're like, we've not even really talked about running and racing. I was like, she actually cares about what is going on with my family. Yeah. That's the first part of it. We'll get to the end of it and it's like, we're cool and everything, this is your, and so forth like that. But I get it. But, you just don't go in there. I don't know. I've never had another coach. I didn't go in there looking for a coach. I feel like it worked out perfect, and, and you care. And I've never had another coach, so I can't really say, but I don't think they're made like you, in my opinion. I send you, I know you're busy during the week, but I'm like, oh, she needs this picture of this dog, and I'm just like, and to me, I'm like, you're my coach, but you're also like a really great friend that I can text at 2:00 in the day or 2:00 in the morning if it come to it. And, it just, that's what separates you in my book. Yes, you're my coach, but you're my friend first. And I feel like David gets to see that. I get to hear, some and so forth like that, but I think you're different than everybody. You care. And I don't know if Mary ever gets to coach you, you'll know that. And it's hard to explain that. I hope you all, whoever is out there listening, has great coaches. She sets the bar where the bar should be, above. She goes above and beyond.
Thanks, God. I appreciate that. And one of my athletes, Sam, she's so funny, but she said this to me one time, and it meant a lot to me. But she said, "You're the best friend we never knew we had." you're the best friend we never knew we needed.
Mhm.
And I take that very seriously. So, yeah, thanks.
It's not fake. I mean, you're not like, okay, I've got to get through this 20-minute, 30-minute call with you. You know, it's legit. The whole thing is.
Thank you.
You get random text messages through the week. Hey, how you feeling?
Or if you miss a workout or something like that, what's up? You're like,
Oh, I guarantee you, Mary is looking at everybody's Strava. So everybody that's listening to this podcast, she has looked at your Strava. I don't care who you are.
She got you like on notification. Because like when I get done, Mary's one of the first people is like, I just finished. How does she know? Yeah, she gets you on notification.
It's true. Not just my athletes. I'm looking at all y'all's.
it's like the parent that gets the note sent home before the kid even gets home to give it to the parent that they were in trouble.
Yeah.
Mary already knows.
Well, Mary, do you have any questions for us? This is your turn.
What has it been like?
Well, it's different because I like to sign up for everything under the sun. And I know when I sent Mary my list last year, she's like, what are we going to do? And, you know, it was great to like see like when I did have some like, I don't know, the shin stuff came up, you know, we worked through that. Then the knee stuff came up. We worked through that. Before it was like, hey, I just figured it out. And I just kept going. But it's good to have somebody like to talk to. Because like I had a run, what was it? I don't know, 2 months ago. And I went out to do my speed stuff. And it was awful. And I just called Mary, I'm like, Mary, today absolutely sucked. Like I cannot run. I couldn't even hold a 7-minute pace. Like it was just awful. And then, you know, she talked to you like, well, this happened, this, and this, and you know, you feel better about it. But before it's like, hey, you had a bad day. Now you suck. You suck. You go home, well, you suck. And then, you know, the next day you go back out and you're like, I'm doing this thing again.
Yeah.
And then you go do it again. You're like, okay, I don't suck no more. But now it's like, you know, she explains like you have life stuff happen. You know, you did this or you did that. And it's been great just to be able to talk instead of just you get in your head. You're like, oh man, I'm sucking. I'm falling apart. So, and then you get plans or everything's wrote out. So I don't have to figure out what I'm doing. Like I'll be at work. I'm like leaving 3:30. What are you doing today? I don't know. I'm gonna go run some trails. And I was like, no, this is what you're doing today. You do it and you go home.
I agree with what Matt said. She took when I did not know how to run. That sounds crazy, but if you've run long enough and you get to the point like, why is this not working? That was where I found Mary at. Like, she's like, I'll show you why it's not working because you're just randomly, like Matt said. You know, me and David would be like, oh, we're going to do that. I don't know. You want to go run? Let's go run. You know, I'll meet you at Kefauver. I'll meet you over, you know, at Lakeshore. You know, we were random and we were everywhere, but we were living the life, you know, and we didn't have a plan. But when everybody's body gets to a different point, you know, I just couldn't figure it out. My production, my results were not dictating what I wanted in my head. And that's where Mary come in and kind of, you know, it makes sense if you have Mary, you know, and she's like, well, this is why you're not getting the results that you want because you're everywhere, you know. When I'm sitting there thinking, why should I only run 3 miles? And that's like, I'll show you in a couple of months why you only running 3 miles a day. And you think I should be running 10 miles or this and that, you know. She figures it out for you. That's where you've changed me because you see the whole picture and I can only see the day's workout. Mm-hmm. But I get the results. I look at my times on a race and I'm like, she has it so figured out.
Well, there's plenty I can say, but my biggest thing that I'll say is it's been nice to have someone to actually challenge me to not do things, you know, because I've never had that. Like, just like Mike said, I was the guy that, I mean, hell, I would sign up for 600 milers in, you know, 8 weeks. So it's fine, but like that doesn't pay out in the long term. And it's been nice to have someone to actually help me to see some of that. I mean, you can hold on and survive, but if that's your only goal, great. But we all have different goals. And, you know, obviously my goal is I want to be competitive. So I have to be able to hold that back and not let that overtake, you know, like the A goals, and to actually get out of my comfort zone with my normal training. So to actually have different programs written to where it's pushing me to be better and to run harder, and just to have someone to, like Matt and Mike said, talk to when things go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we talk quite a bit about that stuff, but more importantly, like, if you write me a workout, I'm going to do it. Like, I don't question it. I don't think about it. If I have 5 miles to run today, I'm going to run 5 miles. If I have 12 miles to run tomorrow, I'll run it, as long as I'm not running with Dusty Jameson and he tells me that we're running 8 miles and we really run 12. But ultimately, like, I do the workout and I don't even question it, because I know at the end it's going to get me the result that I'm trying to get. And the only way that it won't is if something is like unexpected happens, like you get COVID or strep or anything like that. Like, we can't control that. So I love that part of knowing that everything that you're doing for me is going to help me get better. And it's just me trying to learn how to not be a knee-jerk reaction to, oh, look, there's a 100-miler this weekend, I want to run it. So I'm doing better, but it's definitely been, that part's been hard for me, not racing as much. But I think I've handled it pretty well.
Yeah, I think you have too. I think that's my goal for all of you guys, is I just want you to be able to do this forever. I think that's kind of my hope, is that, we don't burn out. There's a lot of amazing athletes who come on the ultra scene and they are amazing for like 2 years, and then you don't ever see them again because they burnt themselves to a crisp. So that's the thing. I want you guys to do this forever. So anyway.
Anything else?
No.
Micah, 2 hours and 23 minutes. I just want you and Brandon to know, nobody cares. Run faster. You should have about 75 miles left. Love you guys. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Mary, thank you so much for all of your time and just your support and for being the amazing coach you are. We appreciate you taking your time to be on here with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.